I'm a professional musician. What do I use to listen to music with? Let's get to it. This is a gigantic debate, and it always uh, shocks me actually to meet musicians that don't use uh, the great formats to listen to music at home or wherever they're at. Um, it's kind of like, in my opinion, uh, a top quality Italian chef that at dinner time orders out for McDonald's. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way, and it kind of irritates my perception of uh, their ear. Um, Again, let's say a car mechanic, uh, you wouldn't expect them to prefer or to use a piece of crap, knowing all that they know about car longevity and mechanics and technology and everything else. It just doesn't make sense. So when I see that, it kind of bothers me. But, circumstances sometimes demand practicality over quality. That's one part of the debate. Another part of the debate is just nostalgia. I know I have friends that don't care whatever about the quality as long as the nostalgia is achieved, and or as long as the present moment of happiness is achieved, which I understand too. I can get that too. However, um, let's go right to food. Your present moment eating at McDonald's, your satisfaction is almost guaranteed right there. However, you'll notice that the digestion of that food later, hours later, is something very different. And what you get out of that hours later is something very different than a real steak and some potatoes. Okay? That's my look on how musicians and people in general use music, um, uh, just for nostalgic reasons or for in the moment reasons. Um, I remember, this is going off subject a little bit, but I remember for practicality, I used um, Bluetooth because my media formats in lessons, the MP3 player battery died. I had to recharge it, and I guess I didn't have some backup CDs, so I had to use the doggle, and I had to spend all day using it, and it literally just made me nauseous. And you discover that, especially at higher volumes, what Bluetooth does to you um, in in a hybrid situation, hybrid environment of acoustic and electronic uh, frequencies going all over the place, right? So I know hands-on that in the long term, Bluetooth is not good for you. It's really not good for you. There are studies out that say you're essentially um, in an invisible field, much like a microwave. It's not good. Um, there will be more studies coming out that prove this. It's also linked to a lot of problems with gaming consoles, because a lot of the gaming consoles are using Bluetooth doggles, sorry, um, for the controllers, which is causing some problems already, and I think we will see that it's adding yet other fields around you already filled up with Wi-Fi everywhere. When you throw in the Bluetooth uh, frequencies, the Bluetooth fields, that's even more. So, really, the long term versions of Bluetooth are not good from a health point of view. But we're not going to go, you can look all of that up. You don't have to believe me. And I know, I mean, I've used Bluetooth. I don't when I don't have to, I don't. But you don't want to believe me, go look it up yourself and investigate all of that. Actually, I highly recommend that you do that. I don't want you to just sit here and take this information like a duck, okay? That's not what my channel's all about. Anyway, moving on to the real subjects here. Um, uh, that's talking about the quality of all of these media formats and what I use to listen to them, listen to my CDs, listen to my music with. Now, um, uh, as a professional musician, so here it is. Most of uh, the media formats I listen to are in CD. CD is the benchmark of uh, practicality and quality. High fidelity sound is unbelievable in CD, and there's no problem in the long term listening with a CD because there's no frequency being transmitted through the air beyond the music itself, like Bluetooth or streaming, right? Um, if you're casting using Wi-Fi or whatever. So a CD uh, uh, doesn't have any of that stuff, so there's no worry of long-term effects. It's very, very practical. It's very easy to shuffle through songs. And in a hi-fi system, it's benchmark. It's absolutely fabulous. And I use that all the time. I even use it in my lessons. I bring the CDs along with me because I want my students, they don't know, but I'm not interested in bathing them in Bluetooth environments. That's going to actually ruin me, and it's going to actually interfere with the peace of mind that they need to have in my lessons. That's how I am with it. So I bring CDs for their sake and mine, and it's like I said, it's the benchmark. And on a hi-fi system, wow, you know, there's no competition. You're never gonna find somebody out there uh, saying CDs are terrible. um, uh, that's just not going to happen. There are some flaws with CD. They can get scratched, and that is annoying. But they're relatively cheap, even to buy a brand new one, a copy of what you now broke or what got destroyed somehow. Those are fairly easy to replace, and you have right back to top quality and hi-fi sound. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So the bulk of my listening is with CD, and I enjoy that, and it's wonderful to use a CD for the experience of the mix. Everything you're hearing is as the mixer and the engineers in the mastering department wanted you to hear it as, if you have it on a hi-fi system, which we're going to get to later on. But so it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to enjoy music, not just in the background, not just for nostalgic reasons, but actually to uh, experience music as you would a film, where you put on an album, you sit down, and you listen to it with the concentration that you would with a film. So CDs are wonderful for that. they're wonderful all around, and so I use them all the time. I still buy CDs. Um, Now, before we go into the other medias, CDs. I went through a period where I was like, well, CDs are just so awesome, and I'm gonna go into mixing, doing a mixed CD, like a mixtape with CD. And unfortunately, the industry never made that really viable. You can get CD recorders, and you can get CD copiers and stuff, and do it at home, but the lasers are not spectacular, and the practicality of those machines. I've had them and sold them since. It's just not there. Even today with CD burners, home CD burners, you will get some of them to work, but you'll also throw away a lot, and it's a very frustrating process. It is nowhere close to the next medium I'm going to talk about as far as enjoying that process of recording and creating your mixed CD. Um, Now, if you manage to get it to happen, and all the texts are there and everything, then it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. You really feel like you've sent a rocket to the moon, kind of thing. But those achievements are not common. You have to go through a lot of throwing away CDs that misburned or ejected too early or mistakes or whatever. Um, uh, if you're really interested in going down that field, that direction, you're better off using a professional CD duplicator. They are the ones that have the serious lasers. They are the ones that have the serious machines, and you can get those reproduced in the long run for cheaper than it would for you to do it at home and do the maintenance on all the machines, and all the money you're going to spend on the CDs and the the album cover and all that stuff. In the long term, go to a CD duplicator if you really want to go that way. And that's what I highly recommend for all the musicians out there that are wondering about how to put out their music. Should you do it at home or get somebody else to do it? Go get somebody else to do it. I've already looked and relooked and relooked because I was so interested in doing it at home, and finally came down to enough obstacles to say to myself, it's way better to get somebody to do it for you. In the long run, it's more economical and less frustrating. And of course, if any problems happen, it's their fault. It's not yours, so you don't lose the money if those problems happen, which you do if you do it yourself. So I use CDs. I use CDs. That's not all I use, though. The bulk of my listening is CDs. In the order of what I use most, CDs being first, the second one is MP3s. I still use an MP3 player, and they are fabulous. It's kind of like um, you get the practicality for sure, and the the loss in music quality and in the mixing effect of the recordings and maybe the oomph that you lose with MP3s still is manageable. And the fact that you're not bathing yourself in Wi-Fi or Bluetooth environments means that it's still unconnected. You're not plugged in, right, to the fields of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So in the long run, it's still highly, it's still of a high quality experience. There are differences. You can hear a difference between an MP3 and a CD, that's for sure. And all of the numbers are just going to confuse everyone here, but look it up yourself. Go to ChatGPT, go to Gemini, and you'll see the difference in those two mediums. Now, you can get kind of lossless MP3, lossless digital formats, and but it takes a little bit more, a little bit more expensive. It's the the hardware that you need to do that, or the software. You might need to invest in some software to get you to that level, and that costs money. And in the end, um, if you're using an MP3, you're not assuming that it's going to be CD quality. So you just kind of deal with it, and it's not really that bad. I mean, as long as you're up around 360 um, bytes a second, kilobytes a second. I'm sorry. As long as you're up around 360, you're good to go. 128, forget it. It's trash. You might actually hurt your sense of équilibre. They say in French, your sense of balance and your sense of, it's kind of like listening to 128 is kind of like eating fast food. It's really rough, and just don't do it. Go ahead and try again. Do it, and you'll see. I would not recommend doing it for a long time though. So anyway, CDs, MP3s, those are my two that I use the most for sure. For sure. MP3s work really well when you're traveling in a car, in a train. They're all there. The practicality is just amazing, and the quality is also awesome if you can get a good MP3 player and some good headphones. You're good to go, and you're not in a Wi-Fi Bluetooth environment, so no harm in the long run. Moving on, it's kind of a toss-up between um, records, vinyl, and cassettes for me. I have both. I have a hi-fi system, and I've invested money in that, and also in the tape machines and in the record player, and the speakers and the amplifier, and the maintenance involved and all that stuff. With the record player, you have the belts, and you also have some maintenance with the needle, and sometimes the mechanics. Record players, the good ones, are typically very fragile, and they can be stopped on a dime of gunk and stuff inside. So you do have to maintain those things. And the same goes for cassettes. Cassette players are they're not as fragile as a record player, but they do demand that you maintain them, clean the heads from time to time, open it up, and maybe get all the dust and humidity. If you're depending on where you're at, if humidity's a problem, so it's a good idea to do that, kind of like you would do spring cleaning, with your machines. And that's cool if you like to work and stuff. A lot of people that are involved in music also like to do that stuff. It's not a really big deal. And amazingly, you can still find very easily all of the components that you need to replace those machines if anything ever breaks. Now, there are some big differences between a record and a cassette. Now, obviously, the audiophiles out there, the hi-fi department people out there, they're going to have a few words to say about this. I mean, I listen to them all the time, every week. I listen to all of these formats every week for different reasons. If we're going to talk about, let's talk about vinyl for a second. I have probably, wow, actually, if you consider, I have probably about 1,000 records, maybe 800 records. I have, in a practical sense, my place is not like the Muga High Fidelity where you see just records all over the walls. He's living alone, or whatever. I don't have that. I have them. I have two areas where they're at, and I'd say probably about 200 to 300 of them are right around the hi-fi system, and I can go through them and use them. And I'm getting new ones all the time. Now, a record player, it's not, you're not going to a record player to get CD sound. You're not going to a record player to get that sound. You're not. You're not even going to a record player to get tape sound, whether it's reel or cassette. The record player is now, today, it used to be the only format. Today it's used for something different. You could think of it kind of like the difference between, like, let's say streaming or listening to MP3s at 128 would be kind of like getting, like, you want to eat dinner and you get some wine and comes in a little plastic bottle. That's what that is. Whereas where the record player is a really, it's a really good bottle of wine. That wasn't just made this year, the whole wine thing. It's a really good bottle of wine. That's pretty much what a record player is. So you don't go to the record player for practicality. You don't go to a record player for just nostalgia. You don't even go to a record player for CD quality. It's using a record player, or that the argument of using records as or because they are the best sound format. That's kind of a useless conversation. You can get into the details and the nitty-gritty of it, but we're not using a record player for that. If I wanted, at dinner time, if I wanted the cleanest thing to drink, it'd be water. But I don't. I choose wine, right? And some water sometimes. Anyway, that's the point. You go to your record player not to get, not for those things that I said. You go to a record player for the experience of enjoying music that is literally live, mechanically, literally reproduced right in front of you. The musicians don't pop up out of the vinyl, but the needle is literally grooving through a path, and it's mechanically being created right in front of you, and that is unbelievable. It's really unbelievable to experience this and witness this and have this resonate in your living area. Now, you can, not even talking about the ultimate charm of having the album cover and the picture and something to hold on to while you're listening, and the ease of reading the liner notes, and the whole deal, the whole package is extremely charming. It's a very seductive, romantic way to listen to music. Um, it's very, uh, it's like you know, proposing to your girlfriend or wife to go to a McDonald's as opposed to a really nice restaurant and getting dressed up. A record is an experience, um, just uh, as it is, and it's amazing. Now, you can enhance that experience if you have a hi fi system, which I do. If you have speakers uh, that correspond to your amplifier, you have to get into the numbers a little bit and the ohms and stuff, and the wattage of all of that stuff. And if you are involved with the reproduction of that sound in your living space and how it's going to reflect on your walls and everything, um, uh, and what record player you use in accordance to all of those other things. If you do all that stuff, which is what a lot of people used to do, not everybody, but a lot of people did, um, then, I mean, you are setting yourself up for some serious entertainment and some serious, profound experiences. Um, some of the best, uh, most profound experiences I've ever had listening to music were on vinyl. When you're listening to something that is just already in itself amazing, John Coltrane, Interstellar Space, or Stellar Regions, or Art Blakey, um or classical music, holy moly, on a vinyl, on the right system, will literally blow your mind. Um, but it's not practical. Nor is buying a bottle of wine practical, but you still do it. Um, and it feeds your soul. It feeds if you don't like the word soul, it feeds your existence in ways that streaming can never do. When you get to, this is the real kicker with vinyl, which most people never talk about. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of engineers, and a lot of people talking about uh, listening to vinyl, and they get into the numbers. But if you use vinyl, get yourself a really good set of headphones, not Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever. Get yourself, stay analog, and get yourself a really good set of headphones, and you will discover sound like you've never heard before. I've literally cried hearing sound with headphones through a vinyl player. It is an experience to soak up. Put on your favorite album and listen to it with very good headphones, and you will see what vinyl can really do. It is not a joke. Vinyl is not just some gadget or some nostalgic pastime that your grandparents used. It actually is phenomenal, especially in that format. Um, so, heavily, even 45s, vinyl's vinyl. Um, and 45s, they have yet another twist to the vinyl experience, because 45s allow you to kind of be like a DJ. And if you have a set of 45s, you're there. It's engaging you to stay right there and go through your vinyl. and choose ones after another. And that's also a really cool experience. Considering all the things you can do in the world, uh, that one is actually pretty cool. Um, and I have probably about, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 45s, and they're relatively cheap, so it's not that big of a deal to get them. And you can get right into your single discography, you know? Coffee break. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for vinyl. Um, um, they're not practical, you know? They're in one place. My CD players are practical, my MP3 players are practical. I move them around. I have several kind of units up around my home. One in the studio, one in the living space, and then we all there. One of the reasons why um, uh, I would even mention going into the hi-fi world is because there's so many people out there that have disregarded it. That guess what? All the prices are really low. Okay, and so you can find phenomenal speakers, phenomenal amplifiers, phenomenal equipment for nothing. Really for nothing. I have. If you're going to go into the CD world, I highly recommend going into the late '90s um, of CD technology. That's when it was really at its peak, and all of the little problems were buffed out. And you can still find an amazing, amazing CD player uh, for nothing, really for nothing. And then if you choose the digital optical line, which I don't even do, it stayed analog, um, quote unquote, and it's still phenomenal. Um, so that's one of the reasons why you can have several stations in your home and all the equipment that goes with it because it's relatively cheap. Um, moving on, cassettes. Now, cassettes, they're spectacular. I love them. And I use these too. I probably have about, we're talking mixtapes. I'm mixtaping, you know. Um, Probably have about maybe 100 to 200 mixtapes that I've done, handwritten, done for myself and for my family. Um, and they're all organized, and I use them all the time. All the time. Um, there's a different charm with a tape. Already, the practicality of a tape uh, is cool compared to the vinyl. It's more durable in a sense, but not really. Tape is a fragile thing, and if you're not careful with your machines, you have to keep them clean. You can destroy one of your mixtapes. Unlike a vinyl, uh, unless you're just stupid and you're bouncing around while it's playing, the vinyl's there for a very long time. And once you start to hear that it's starting to lose its quality, just replace the needle and you're fine. You can clean your vinyls if you want, but so there's not really much danger using a vinyl player and those media formats. Whereas with the tape, there is. Your tape will get eaten, and your tape will warp a little bit and stretch, and over time it will degrade and it'll start to sound off. It'll start to sound dissonant and kind of funky. Um, uh, I'm not talking about the rubber band, right? I'm actually talking about the tape itself. They do degrade. Uh, Vinyl takes a long time to degrade, and you got to really be heavy with your needle to do it. So there's that aspect of tape that's kind of annoying. But the tape itself is so charming that you deal with it. We can think of 1,000 things like that in life, can't we? But yet when it comes to tape, people go, no. But yet there are 1,000 things like that where you deal with some of those problems because the other things are so nice. With a tape, holding it in your hand, these are obvious things. The sound of it, pressing the mechanical buttons, the door, all of that stuff, it's kind of like a high fidelity dance when you're using a tape. The quality of tape on a metal tape, it is amazing. It's amazing, and I'm going to get into why for sure, but it is amazing. You can get a very wonderful, wonderful hi-fi sound on a tape using the right machines, using the right using the right tape recorders. You want to get yourself a machine that has 3 heads and not 2, if you're really going to do it right. So there's a head for playback. There's a head for erase, and there's a head for record. Most machines only have 2. Playback, erase, and record are combined. So when you have 3 heads, you're getting the best of playback. The erasing process is the best it can be, and the recording process is the best it can be. And you know what? You can still find those for cheap. No biggie. Really, no biggie. Don't tell anybody. So all of that stuff is just phenomenal with a tape machine. Like I said, you deal with the problems that occur. You find yourself very forgiving with a tape machine because it's just so phenomenal and so charming. Now, beyond, there's 2 more subjects with this, with the tapes. How does, and we're going to go into the analog world a little bit. If you're not a musician, you'll still understand. If you're not an engineer, you'll still understand. I'm going to try and keep it like that. Analog, a piece of tape, magnetically charged tape, it's actually kind of in a state of neutrality, and then when music is recorded onto it, you're actually organizing the magnetic field in a way on tape that then is read from the other head, translates that into audio sound. But when you're recording on tape, unlike digital, it never stops. Analog, you can say that about digital too, but you really can't. Analog recordings have a constant open channel. They're constantly recording the air, the sound, the vibration, everything. Whereas a digital recorder interprets the silence and defines it. It's not actually recording mechanically like a tape does. Why is this important? Because it means that there's a very light layer on every tape that you hear of the life around that music, whether it's talking or whether it's music. There's a very almost like you can hear the air in the room. There's a very light representation of life on a tape. And when you get a good system, you can hear it. And it is profound. It's amazing. It's amazing. And this is why all of our greatest songs, all of those songs in the past that were recorded on tape, which they still are today for the big studios, they have that. They're originally on tape, right? All your favorite Beatles tunes are on tape. And you hear, somehow, you have the notion of hearing the studio. Different than today with technology and digital formats. In digital format worlds, you don't hear the studio. Let's be honest again here. People, you're not hearing the studio, you're hearing the computer. When you're hearing John Lennon or Paul McCartney or Bob Dylan singing their songs in the 80s and in the 70s, or Led Zeppelin, when you're hearing those things, you're hearing them, but you're also hearing that room. You're also hearing life at that time. And tape captures this. Motown. When you hear Motown and some of those beautiful songs, some of those ballads will rip your heart out because you're hearing the voice and you're also hearing that room. And tape gets that. It's kind of like, if you want to think of it from an engineering point of view, it's kind of like an automatic filter in a way. There's a sound. People say there's a sound that tape adds to your recording. Some people will say saturation. Other people will say, other stuff. There's an EQ that happens with tape, they'll say. But what that actually is, beyond just the nature of the sound of tape, you're hearing the life around that music. And some people don't like it. I should say that. Some people don't want to hear that. Some people want to be completely immersed and seduced and tricked into a bubble where they're hearing the music and it's like it's just in their brain, and they don't want to recognize life around them, which is what you get a lot of times in a movie. So if there's a piano part, you just want to hear that note. You don't want to hear the sound of the studio where that note was played. You don't want to be reminded of that. You want to be completely immersed in your little bubble. Some people like that. And I think when I was younger, there's a nice kick with that for movies. But when you get older, at least for me, I like to hear the humanity. And so tape has an immense amount of humanity. And that's why it is kind of like the benchmark for quality studio recording, and still is. It was and still is reel to reel. So if you're not a musician, an engineer, that's the highest you can go. It's on tape. It's not on digital formats. That alone should tell you something about this whole conversation. The highest format, the most expensive format to record on is reel to reel, tape, because of saturation, people will say, because of what it adds. I will say because of how it also records existence around the music that it's recording. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. I don't have a reel-to-reel machine. However, I'll give you another little secret. It's called Super VHS. Now, this machine is kind of like the poor man's reel-to-reel, which is, I have one too. And on a classic VHS machine, you have, let's say this is the tape. You have the video that's recorded here, and on the bottom or top, I think, on the bottom, you have a band of the audio file. Runs across the bottom on a classic VHS machine. On a Super VHS, you have, I have one here too. What happens is you can tell the machine just to record audio, no video. And when you put that function in motion, the VHS machine, Super VHS, records all of it across the entire piece of tape. Poor man's reel-to-reel. And you can get phenomenal sound for 1/100th, not even. Some reel-to-reel machines are in the 20, 30, 50,000 price range, you know. Super VHS you can get for $100, $200. Phenomenal. Unbelievable. The quality that you have, like I said, it's poor man's reel-to-reel. Now, but I don't listen to, I'm going to skip over this a little bit because I don't use that format to listen to music, and that's what this post was all about. It's more, that is about recording. But just to say that that's out there, and that tape is still king. Now, here is another reason why cassettes and tape, but cassettes, because reel-to-reel is for the studio, the engineer, right? Most people don't have reel-to-reels or are listening to them at home. Maybe if I win the lottery, I'll do that, but I don't. I use cassettes, metal cassettes, chrome cassettes, the regular ones too. Something that nobody ever talks about with cassettes. Have you ever noticed that digital formats sometimes can hurt if they're too loud or if the frequencies are not mixed properly? They can kind of hurt your ears. I don't know if you've noticed this before, but just beyond being loud, right? CDs, not so much, but certainly streaming. CDs can, but certainly streaming can sometimes hit those moments where the sound is just way too, not necessarily loud, but it is, but there's something about the blend of the frequencies that make the sound very sharp. And I've noticed that sometimes it can hurt. The sound is too sharp with a digital format. More so with streaming than CDs again, but with the digital format, it can be very, very sharp. A tape isn't at all. I've noticed this. As the volume gets more intense and the music going on gets more intense, if you can imagine, the frequency never gets knife sharp. It always kind of rounds out that tip. And the tape will distort before it actually gets to be that sharp sound. So it's a very nice way to play music loud. You don't have to worry about it. Whereas if you're playing music loud in a digital format, it does have some of those moments that are a little just sharp. I'm not talking sharp and flat, right? Like the sound itself is piercing. And cassettes don't do that. Tape doesn't do that. It magically kind of rounds out those peaks. And that's why it's still being used in recording as the top of the top, you know. So it's a kind of a reassuring thing with tape, that when you're listening back in your living room, it's not going to be, you're never going to experience that sharpness of sound. That sometimes hurts. So I noticed that. I listen to all of these formats a lot, all the time, for different reasons. Streaming. Poof. Streaming services, that is got to be the biggest scam. Let me get to it. You can go in and look at all these details, use ChatGPT or Gemini and tell it to spit out all of the qualities of all the different streaming services, and you'll see. You'll see the titles up there. You'll see that Amazon Music is actually up there. And you'll see that to get up there, you generally have to pay buckets of money every single month to get up there. We're talking not $2. We're talking upwards of $200 to $300 a year to get high fidelity sound. Because you're paying what, $20 or $30 a month, something like that. If it's a family pack, or it's easily $100 a year for sure. And if you don't subscribe, then you're getting quality at a terrible level. Terrible level. Quality that's going to disrupt your ear. It's like choosing to eat fast food every single night, Really. Go ahead and try it. Don't believe me? You do it. Just listen to music at 128 kilobytes a second for a week, and you'll see that your health will go down. Try it. Don't believe me. Streaming services, it's the big thing. And they're banking on one subject alone for that to work. Practicality. Streaming services are unbelievably practical. They are the most practical of all the mediums. You can get it anytime you want, wherever you want, almost. Sometimes the signal doesn't work, but anyway, most of the time, 99% of the time. Unbelievably practical. You can find new music that way as well. Unbelievably practical. And it finds it for you, right? So if you like so-and-so's song, it will select a song that's in the same vein that it thinks you're going to like too. Incidentally, not for your pleasure, but because it's earning money off of you finding the next song, right? Let's be real there. Anyway, it's trying as best it can to keep you on the platform. That's how it earns money. The streaming services that boast 44,000 hertz, that boast CD quality, some of them boast even more. Amazon, paying for Amazon Music gets you way up above CD quality. Astounding. That's where you're going to really encounter those sharp signals that kind of hurt sometimes if it's too loud. It's literally piercing. But skipping that, you can get, if you pay, the best of digital quality at an extremely practical price. I mean, extremely practical, in an extremely practical format. The price, however, is crazy expensive to get that. Not just talking about the difference in price of your subscription versus getting an MP3 player or a CD player or a cassette player or an amplifier or speakers, right? That already is a mute conversation, because the amount of money you're going to put into the subscription in the long term is going to be way, way, way more than what you would put into getting an entertainment system in your home or in your car or in a mobile format like an MP3. It really is, in the long term, way more expensive to do streaming. It really is. Even when you buy CDs, it's still way more expensive in the long term. Because when I buy my CD, I got it. I'm not plugged in. I don't have to have a subscription to Wi-Fi or my phone service to play that CD. It's mine. I got it. That's it. Yes, I'm paying for the machines and I'm paying for the electricity to run those machines, but all of that combined is still less in the long term than buying a subscription and streaming it to your phone. And all that means. Not even talking about what everybody misses about streaming services and the quality. Your phone. Your phone, I'd see 8 out of every 10 people that watch this post have a phone that cannot handle the quality that they're actually subscribing to. They don't tell you that. And you can say, well, I can just use a headphone jack, right? Go through the phone, so you skip the hardware of the phone and go to the jack. Yes and no, that doesn't always work. Actually, I'd say most of the time it still doesn't work, because the hardware is still translating the signal into a standard format and then pushing it out your jack, right, to your headphones. So that subject is never talked about. They tell you, oh, it's top quality signal. Okay, great. But what's the medium that you're listening to that top quality signal on? A phone. And your phone is not handling, it wasn't meant to handle top quality audio. The speaker, first of all, is crap on almost all of them, or they develop another charm in the speaker to conceal the fact that it's crap. The phone jack, as I just said, fine, you're going to use headphones, but the hardware is converting that signal to something that's not even close, right? So now you'd say, well, my phone's expensive. Mine's a piece of crap. But you might say, well, I got an inexpensive phone. Okay, you know what? How much did that cost you? It cost you 500 to 1,000 euros. I'm in France, so it's euros. We're talking, do you even hear that number? 500 to 1,000 euros to have a phone that can handle the quality signal that is coming to it? Do you hear that? And this phone's going to be outdated. You have to buy another one, right? And you're taking this phone all over the place, and sometimes the screen will crack. You got to get a new one. Sometimes you'll lose it, right? So you're paying gobs of money if you choose to do it that way. Gobs of money to have to have your streaming quality top notch. In the long run, it's an enormous waste of money and a scam to get you to listen to music through streaming. It's ridiculously expensive. It's unbelievable that, people don't know any better, but that's actually the truth. You might say, people that don't know, they'll say, well, it's so expensive to buy all the hardware and the amplifier and the hi-fi system and maybe a portable Walkman and buy CDs and, Really? No, it's not. It's not even close to what it's like to have a subscription and get a phone that can handle the quality that they are boasting is coming to you, and headphones, and the phone service itself, the mobile phone service and the Wi-Fi, if you're paying for that, right? Because now you're going to be it's going to be eating up a lot of your Wi-Fi and your service, the bytes coming to you, right, on your phone. So you're going to have a service that can handle the transmission of all of this audio onto your phone if you're a hi-fi nut like me, right? So you're going to not only have to have an unbelievable phone, good headphones, that's not that big of a deal, but still, unbelievable phone, good headphones. Now you're going to have a really powerful subscription to your phone company so you can handle all of this audio coming in. So then you don't find yourself in the middle of the weekend without being able to use your phone. Because you're not actually owning any of that music, people, right? You're not. If you lose your phone contract, you lose that. You have to get it back with the phone contract, with the phone. You're not owning it. See, it's a gigantic scam where people are getting gobs and gobs and gobs of money and convincing you that you're getting really good sound when you're actually not owning any of it. Not one bit of it. So then you're going to say, well, I'm going to buy the song in WAV format. Okay, great. Fine. But we're back to the original argument. Your phone can't produce that quality that you bought. It can't do it. It's not intended to do it. If you buy, then you say, so that, see, it's like this vicious circle. So then you get into, well, I got $1,000 phone. Okay, now you can listen to that WAV format really well. But you paid $1,000. Whereas, it's you paid $1,000 plus all of the streaming payments. They're not free. Plus the phone service is not free, right? All of that stuff is and this is a monthly, yearly thing that you're keeping up. It's a ridiculous scam. I don't use it. on not even talking about the serious health consequences of using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Because if you're like me, I listen to music all the time, bathing in music. So if I'm doing that, I'm bathing myself in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth all the time. I'm going to have problems. And that's been proven. Those are problem factors. Surrounding yourself in those fields all the time. Not good. So, I mean, it's just kind of taken over the world because it's so practical. And nobody's coming out and saying what it's really all about and how economical, how romantic, how healthy it is to have an entertainment system, to have an MP3 player. I mean, an MP3 player is peanuts now. You can find one for like $30. Nothing. And have a CD you bought for €2 and upload it onto your computer. We all have them now. And then you have your MP3 player, and it's not connected to your phone. So you're not connected. So you don't need the service. You don't need the unbelievable $1,000 phone. You don't need any of that crap. You just have an MP3 player. That's it. And guess what? You have the song when you do that. It's yours. You have it. You put those files in a key or some other place. If the MP3 player breaks, you transfer them. That's it. It's yours. I mean, it's really, really crazy what the industry has done to people. And more musicians are fed up with the streaming market. Here's another one. Bill Gates. I have some CDs I was uploading to my computer, an HP computer, a piece of crap, but it doesn't matter, it still works. Uploading to my computer, I'm on OS 10 or 11, OS 10. Windows 10, I guess, or 11, I forget. Certainly not 9 or anything else, but OS 10. Anyway, so for a long time, you put your CD into the player, and it finds the album info. Well, as of December 25th, I think, 2025, Bill Gates has decided, or Microsoft in general, he certainly didn't stop it from happening, has decided to break all ties with the World Archive of Music. I think it's Music Match or something like that. So now when you put in your CD and you want all the album info to come up, because you want that metadata to be transferred to your MP3 player or whatever, wherever you're ripping it or burning it to, it's no longer there. Bill Gates or Microsoft has broken ties with them. So now you just get a blank screen. No meta information is transferred whatsoever. And you have to manually, if you want, go in and do it yourself. Oh, thank you very much. So you can see the industry is pushing people into streaming, and not only that, but they're taking away the possibility of being able to use these better formats, healthier formats, better formats, where you actually own the material when you buy it, right? Unbelievable. He says when you go into Microsoft, there's a big debate. People are screaming their heads off at Microsoft and Bill Gates about it right now because it just happened. It says you have to update your browser. But regardless, the break is gone from that data bank. Now, I spent literally like a whole day figuring out a workaround. And if you're still here after this long discussion, here is a little surprise. If you're like me and you still use CDs, this is what you do. You use an open source. God bless open source people. Thank the Lord. Open source, it's called FREAC, FREAC. And they have a very strong connection to the world archive of music out there. So you load your CD in, and it 8 out of 10 times will find it. Thank the Lord for open source. So you can see how the industry is not helping us at all. It's going the other way. It doesn't want this. It doesn't want you to own your music. It doesn't want you to have it in your hand. If we can keep it out of your hand, then we can rent it to you and accumulate payments on that music that you're hearing. And what's worse is that process that they're doing, that money's not even going back to the artist that is actually allowing them to exist. Because without the artist, they wouldn't be there. They'd find some other format, but anyway, you know what I'm saying? And, people are already mad about Spotify using a lot of the money to go into the investment of drones, I guess was what I heard. Drones for the investment of weaponry. Drones for war and stuff. So you have a lot of artists out there going, that's it, I'm not with Spotify anymore. I just put out a new song. I didn't choose it. It's not on Spotify. You can't see it there. We don't want peace. I mean, we don't want peace. We do want peace. We don't want war. And we're not putting out these songs and all of this stuff to help people go to war. So if we learn of that, you're cut from the slate, man, So it's a crazy world. That is what I use. That's my slant on that whole subject. I love listening to music, love it in the proper formats, and I highly recommend that you do the same for your health. It adds so much charm in your life, and it reminds you what that thing was all about. That's my opinion. You don't have to. I know artists, people that don't use any of it anymore. Breaks my heart. More news soon. Thanks for watching.